In a world where death row criminals fight for freedom against deadly dinosaurs and only one criminal can survive. Today, we're breaking down the Jurassic Games, a brutal mix of survival, betrayal, and prehistoric terror. And warning, spoilers ahead. In the near future, death row criminals are given a chance at freedom through the Jurassic Games, a high-stakes reality show where contestants must survive inside a brutal virtual simulation. And the twist is, death in the game means death in real life via lethal injection. Among the contestants is Tucker, a man wrongly convicted of murdering his wife. With no other options, he enters the deadly competition, hoping to win and reunite with his family. Inside the simulation, a masked man known as the host and sets the rules. Only one contestant can survive, and competitors are encouraged to kill each other to increase their chances. To make things worse, each participant wears an explosive collar that will detonate if they fail their objectives. Their first mission is to reach a nearby safe zone, but chaos erupts when the host unleashes a massive T-Rex. As the dinosaur roars, panic spreads, and the contestants scatter. But for one unfortunate player, an elderly man who falls behind, and these dinosaurs swallow him without brushing their teeth. Because of this, the contestant meets a gruesome end, reducing the number of survivors to just 9. And the remaining players make it into the dense forest, watched by a merciless audience that shows no sympathy for their suffering. And tensions rise as the contestants turn on each other, fighting to the death. Meanwhile, the host reassures viewers that these criminals deserve every bit of their torment. To justify the bloodshed, he reveals the crimes of the first eliminated player, who is a former chemistry professor. He went insane and blew up his own university. Then, host promises even harsher trials ahead, making sure justice is served in the most terrifying ways. At the same time, the youngest contestant, Joy, is wandering through the forest trying to find the safe zone. However, she eventually runs into one of the vicious criminals who starts attacking her by choking her furiously. Luckily, before she is killed, Tucker saves her from behind. But he's clearly no match for the bigger enemy and gets repeatedly slammed to the ground. With no other choice, the main character fights dirty, smashing the opponent's skull with a large stone and knocking him out. But he's shocked when Joy finishes the kill by crushing the enemy's head like a psychopath. It quickly becomes clear that Joy is not as helpless as she appears. She starts taunting the main character, revealing that she knows Tucker was framed for killing his own wife. This leaves Tucker stunned in shock. Suddenly, Joy attacks, strangling him with a rope and striking him furiously from behind. Things get even worse as she lifts him into the air by the rope, completely defying physics, and mocks him for being a simp before leaving him to die a horrible death. But luckily, before Tucker is killed, another contestant named Ren arrives just in time, cutting the rope and saving him. Then Ren suggests they team up for now, until they reach the final mission. However, what they don't realize is that the game masters have already released numerous raptors to hunt them down and kill them horrifically. Meanwhile, a reporter named Laura, who works for the game show, is interviewing Tucker's children, trying to uncover the truth about the man's crime. To her surprise, Tucker's family is firm about their father's innocence, which makes Laura start to question her company's true intentions. Soon, she begins secretly searching her employer's computer for clues of foul play. She quickly discovers that many of the convicts were purposely framed to boost the show's dramatic effect. Meanwhile, a criminal with long hair, known as Wasp, accidentally injures his leg while climbing down a hill. But things quickly get worse when he runs into a pair of brothers who are clearly out to eliminate the competition. But luckily, Wasp manages to convince the brothers to join him by promising them a lot of money for their sick mother's operation. However, before they can finish their conversation, they spot a pack of raptors approaching. Strangely, the creatures vanish just before attacking and allowing them to escape. It's soon revealed that the showrunners spared them on purpose, as the host wanted to create more suspense for the audience, just like Christopher Nolan. He even promises a horrible death for all the unfortunate contestants. Eventually, the remaining survivors find the safe zone through different entrances, barely avoiding the flesh-eating dinosaurs. They carefully enter a mysterious building, leading to the second arena. However, before they can figure out what's happening, the showrunners knock them all out from the outside. Meanwhile, the host decides to play a terrible commercial for the audience, shamelessly trying to sell his cheap action figures from Walmart. Thankfully, the host finally decides to resume the reality show. But He further shows his creepiness by touching the contestants with his oily fingers before eventually joining them inside the virtual simulation. This quickly causes all the players to regain consciousness as the game host explains that they are now inside a maze, which they must escape. He announces that the first person to unlock their chains will be rewarded with a powerful laser gun. Soon the host starts second phase and everyone begins scrambling to unlock their chains and find a way out of the virtual labyrinth. Surprisingly, one of the vicious criminals, Albert, manages to solve the puzzle right away. He quickly grabs the weapon and threatens to kill the other contestants. But luckily, Tucker manages to free himself just in time and knocks Albert to the ground. But things quickly get even worse as numerous raptors are spawned inside the building. This forces everyone to solve the puzzles immediately, freeing themselves from the chains one by one. However, Ren is the only one left behind due to his broken screen. Seeing this, Tucker quickly shoots Ren's chain, allowing them both to escape right away. But instead of teaming up, Ren decides to march forward alone and leaving Tucker behind. This turns out to be a huge mistake. The raptors appear to be highly intelligent and seem to be planning an ambush. As Ren wanders back into the first room, he finds himself completely surrounded by the vicious dinosaurs. Surprisingly, he starts fighting the creatures like he's Bruce Lee, trying to make his ancestors proud. But it quickly becomes clear that his kung fu skills are all for show, as he gets overwhelmed by the flesh-eating monsters. At the same time, the other contestants are desperately trying to find the exit with little success, while the vicious raptors eventually start coming after them. Soon, one of the raptors runs into a woman named Stephanie, but she's quickly saved by main character, which gives them a chance to run the other way, while he continuously tries to fend off the dinosaurs with his gun. However, the group soon reaches a dead end, forcing Tucker to shoot an air duct open, allowing the contestants to crawl inside immediately to escape the flesh-eating monsters. Before long, Stephanie manages to reach the outer wall, while Tucker desperately tries to hold the creatures back. This gives the others enough time to escape the building and finally reach the outside. Then the contestants quickly realize the area is filled with danger, spotting numerous dinosaurs nearby. Things take a turn for the worse when Wasp is attacked by a giant carnivorous plant. The brothers desperately try to pull him out to save their teammate. However, the older brother soon realizes that Wasp has been fatally poisoned by the monster. Before dying, Wasp reveals that he never intended to help the brother's sick mother. But just then, Tucker is attacked by Albert, who steals the gun right away, only to realize it's out of ammo. Tucker quickly throws Albert to the ground, but their fight is interrupted by the game host. The host decides to reward Stephanie with a map that reveals the location of important supplies, since she was the first to escape the maze. Seeing this, the contestants immediately start fighting for the map. Eventually, the brothers manage to snatch the map by force and leave the area right away to retrieve the supplies. With no other choice, Tucker decides to follow them as they begin moving across the desolate lands. This makes the older brother furious as he curses loudly at the audience in frustration. But the younger brother quickly reminds him that they cannot give up so easily. Soon, the group decides to move forward and manages to locate the supplies. But the host suddenly appears behind them and reveals that the ground is filled with numerous landmines. The host demonstrates the danger by summoning a giant dinosaur onto the field, which quickly explodes into pieces after stepping on the bombs. He reveals that the only way to navigate through the landmines is by using the map for guidance. This leaves the contestants with no choice but to move forward into the next area. However, to everyone's surprise, the older brother decides to forfeit the game. He no longer wants to continue after realizing that his mother will die from her illness regardless. Tragically, the man steps outside the boundaries and blows up instantly, leaving the younger brother crying in pain. But what they don't realize is that numerous flying dinosaurs have already noticed their location. After this, the giant creatures begin attacking the contestants and eventually grab the younger brother and dropping him from a height and killing him horrifically. Seeing this, the others quickly rush toward the supplies. Then Stephanie manages to grab a knife and all the ammunition for herself. Unfortunately, it's soon revealed that Stephanie was never a team player. She refuses to share the ammo with Tucker and starts threatening everyone around her instead. With no other choice, Tucker decides to talk to Joy once again, trying to convince her to work together until the last level to increase their chances of becoming the final contestants. However, their conversation is suddenly interrupted by a loud scream, as Albert viciously attacks Stephanie. Seeing this, Tucker quickly strikes Albert to the ground, but ends up getting stabbed in the process. This allows Albert to snatch the ammunition and the laser weapon. He immediately starts shooting continuously at the escaping contestants. Then, barely managing to survive, Tucker eventually escapes the area and makes his way toward a rocky mountain. Very soon, Albert manages to track down Tucker's location, hunting him like a predator. However, he's quickly ambushed by Tucker instead. This leads to a furious fight between them, causing the laser weapon to be knocked away, but neither of them is willing to give up so easily as they desperately struggle to grab the gun. Their fight eventually causes the weapon to be thrown over the cliff. Without hesitation, Albert decides to slide down the rocks like Batman and manages to retrieve the weapon. He quickly sets out to hunt down Tucker once again, but soon realizes he's completely surrounded by a swarm of flesh-eating insects. In a horrifying turn of events, Albert is devoured alive, leaving nothing but bones behind, and even causing the host to look disgusted. Meanwhile, the showrunners suddenly notice something is very wrong as their firewalls start shutting down systematically due to an unknown virus. Surprisingly, they trace the signal back to the reporter Laura, who has decided to betray her company along with many of the workers, and believing that the show must be stopped immediately. Elsewhere, Joy reaches the Rocky Mountains, while the other survivors are severely injured from their previous fights. But despite their wounds, they refuse to give up because they know it's their only way back to their families. Then Joy spots the injured contestants and decides to finish them off, but she's quickly interrupted by a saber-toothed tiger instead. The beast lunges at her viciously but completely misses, sliding off the cliff and trapping itself at the bottom instead. Seeing this, Joy gets a horrendous idea. She slowly approaches Stephanie from behind, knowing that the woman is severely wounded. However, Stephanie detects her just in time, forcing Joy to confront her face to face. Then, Stephanie desperately threatens Joy to back off. Unfortunately, her threats do nothing to intimidate Joy, who swiftly kicks Stephanie over the cliff and turning her into cat food for the saber-toothed tiger, ending her life for good. Very soon, the show host announces the start of the final part of the game, as the remaining contestants move toward the glowing doors, eventually arriving in a massive desert where only Tucker and Joy are still alive. However, they are quickly knocked out by the showrunners once again and eventually wake up with chains tied to their legs. The contestants soon realize that there's no way to break the restraints without the keys. Suddenly, the host appears in front of them just like before, reminding the players that only one of them can survive. He decides to show Tucker a video clip of his children to motivate him to kill his competitor. This causes Tucker to scream in rage, but what they don't realize is that Laura has already made it into the control room, waiting for the right moment to sabotage the game. Soon, the host begins explaining the rules for the final game, and a giant green circle is drawn around the contestants. It's quickly revealed that the mission is simple. The players must find their respective keys to unlock the chains, and the first person to leave the circle will be the winner. Hearing this, Tucker immediately starts searching for the keys in the sand. But Joy has a different plan in mind. She slowly approaches Tucker while acting like an annoying brat before kicking him right in the face. Surprisingly, Joy quickly begins revealing disturbing details about the murder of Tucker's wife, knocking him to the ground once again. She eventually confesses that she was the real killer behind Tucker's wife's death and is the reason for his current predicament. Joy starts striking Tucker furiously, causing the show host to scream in excitement. Luckily, Joy's punches turn out to be weak, allowing Tucker to quickly retaliate in rage. Meanwhile, the host decides to make the game even more difficult for them. Before long, the contestants notice a gigantic T-Rex charging toward their location and roaring furiously. But Tucker is nearly devoured by the flesh-eating monster as he gets knocked away like a flying ragdoll. This eventually gives Joy the chance to finally find the key that unlocks her padlock. She quickly rushes to unlock the device right under the giant dinosaur before desperately fleeing the scene. The show host sees this and immediately summons even more giant dinosaurs in front of the murderous girl, causing the contestants to be completely surrounded by flesh-eating monsters with no way to escape. However, the people soon notice something strange as the massive dinosaurs begin roaring furiously at each other, completely turning their attention away from the tiny humans. It's quickly revealed that the gigantic creatures were programmed to be highly territorial, causing them to attack each other with their enormous jaws. which forces the humans to run for their lives. Before long, one of the T-Rexes wins the battle, throwing its opponent crashing onto the ground while also trapping Joy by jamming her chains. The remaining dinosaurs roar viciously at each other before charging forward into another clash, fighting furiously right in front of the contestants. Luckily, this chaos allows Tucker to finally find his key as well. He rushes to unlock his padlock immediately and freeing himself from the chain and allowing him to escape from the gigantic monsters. However, Joy manages to pull her chain free from the dead dinosaur as well and starts racing Tucker toward the outer boundaries. Very soon, one of the larger dinosaurs finally kills its enemy and decides to go after the humans right away. The contestants rush desperately toward the finish line and Tucker manages to win by his teeth. This causes all the audiences to cheer in victory as the murderous girl is finally killed, while the giant T-Rex is prevented from attacking Tucker any further. However, before Tucker can be announced as the victor, the game is suddenly hijacked by Laura, who has decided to end this reality show once and for all. She forces the host into his own game as payback for framing innocent people. The man eventually wakes up in front of the gigantic T-Rex, who sees him as nothing more than a tasty human hamburger. This leads to the T-Rex devouring the host in a single bite, before roaring furiously at the audiences, while Tucker is finally brought out of the virtual simulation as well. However, the people are quickly attacked by security guards who try to kill all the rebels inside the company. Then Laura is forced to fight back immediately, but is eventually fatally wounded by the numerous enemies. Luckily, Tucker manages to survive the crossfire, but the game show's dark secrets are buried forever alongside the female reporter Laura. One salute for her. Sometime later, Tucker is returned to his family as an exonerated man. However, it's also revealed that the Jurassic game is far from over, as the showrunners have decided to upgrade their dinosaurs with deadly weapons for future contestants. So, what do you guys think about this movie? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.